We are often told that empathy is a superpower. We are taught that to be a good human being, we must feel what others feel, carry their burdens, and bleed when they are wounded. But there is a silent, dangerous threshold where empathy stops being a bridge and starts becoming a flood. When you absorb the emotions of everyone around you, you aren't being a healer. You are becoming a victim of a world you cannot control. This is the phenomenon of toxic empathy. Toxic empathy is the collapse of the boundary between yourself and the other. It is the moment you stop offering a helping hand and instead jump into the quicksand with the person you are trying to save. You don't help them out. You both just sink together. And in that sinking, your own growth, your own purpose, and your own peace are paralyzed. Let me tell you the story of Elena. Elena was what people called a highly sensitive soul. She was the person everyone went to with their tragedies. Her best friend's divorce, her brother's financial ruin, her colleague's anxiety. Elena felt it all. She didn't just listen. She absorbed. She would spend her nights staring at the ceiling, her heart racing with the pain of lives that weren't her own. She was so busy feeling the world's weight that she had no energy left to build her own life. She was a sponge in a polluted ocean, becoming heavy with the very toxins she wished to clean. One autumn, exhausted and on the verge of a breakdown, Elena visited an old family friend, a retired emergency surgeon named Dr. Aris. She told him, "I feel like I'm drowning in other people's pain. If I stop feeling it, am I becoming cold? Am I becoming a monster?" Dr. Aris led her to a small window overlooking a busy street. "Elena," he said quietly, "in the operating room, if a patient is bleeding out on the table and I start crying because I feel their pain too deeply, my hands will shake. If my hands shake, the patient dies. To save them, I must care for them deeply, but I cannot feel like them. I must have the discipline of distance." He looked at her with a steady gaze. "You think your pain is a sign of your goodness, but your pain is actually an obstacle to your service. You aren't helping them. You are just mirroring their chaos. A surgeon who faints at the sight of blood is useless. A healer who is paralyzed by empathy is just another patient." This was Elena's epiphany. She realized that her empathy wasn't a gift. It was an addiction to emotional intensity. She was using other people's drama to avoid the quiet, difficult work of her own growth, to escape the trap of toxic empathy. One must embrace the stoic virtue of emotional sovereignty. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we should be like the promontory against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it. This is the goal, to be a steady rock, not a porous sponge. This requires the art of discernment. You must learn to distinguish between empathy, feeling with someone, and compassion, caring for someone. Empathy is a shared suffering that can lead to burnout. Compassion is an objective kindness that leads to action. Compassion allows you to see the fire without being burned by it. Building this distance requires boundaries of the mind. It starts with the realization that you are not the emotional janitor of the universe. You are not responsible for fixing every broken heart you encounter. In fact, by feeling their pain for them, you may be stealing the very struggle they need to grow. Every person has their own path to walk, their own karma to resolve. When you over-identify with their suffering, you are interfering with their journey and abandoning your own. Elena began to practice the mirror technique. When a friend came to her with a crisis, Elena would visualize herself as a mirror, clear, bright, and reflective. She would listen, she would validate, and she would offer help if she could. But she would not let the emotion enter her. She would let it bounce off the surface. She practiced the silence of observation. She stopped saying, "I feel exactly what you're going through," and started saying, "I see that you are suffering, and I am here for you." At first, she felt a strange sense of guilt. The habit of suffering was hard to break. But as she maintained her compassionate distance, she found that she was actually a better friend because she wasn't drowning herself. She had the strength to hold the rope for others. Her mind became clear. She finally had the energy to return to her own projects, her own health, and her own dreams. She learned the secret of letting go. She let go of the ego-driven belief that her suffering added value to the world. It didn't. The world has enough suffering. What it needs are stable, joyful, and purposeful people who can offer a steady hand from the shore. True growth requires you to be the master of your internal weather. You cannot stop the storms from coming to your door, but you can choose not to let them inside. Your empathy should be a flashlight you carry to help others see the way, not a fire you start in your own house just to keep them warm. Reclaim your emotional sovereignty today. Build the walls of your inner citadel. Be the surgeon, not the wound. For it is only when you are standing firm on your own ground that you can truly reach out and lift another.